Okay, so now we're going to talk about manual programming. Manual programming applies to remotes and they also apply to some keys. It's pretty rare for keys, but it does happen occasionally. And it's usually a situation where you have to have existing keys, usually one or two of them, to be able to program a third one. But most of the times you do need a programming machine, and that's why you need to go to a locksmith to be able to program keys. But remote, it's pretty common to do manual programming for older vehicles and even some new vehicles. So there are a couple websites that we use. I like this one the most, keyfobprogram.com. They make it really easy to use. You look at the vehicle make on the left side. So, you click on Acura, it'll show you the options for Acura, RL, RSX, TL. And they'll have remote programming instructions. But some of them, let's see, like this. Okay, so let me give you another example first. Like the RL, let's see if they have programming. So, like this one, they don't have do it yourself programming. So that just means this vehicle, most likely it means this vehicle doesn't have do it yourself programming, or it could just be that this website doesn't have it. So it's always good to have a backup website. Well, let's go to an example where there is, I think I went to TSX. Let's see. Nope. Where was it? MDX. Nope. Which one? TL? Was it TL that we're on? Let's see. Wow, a lot of them don't. CL? My goodness. There was one. Was it the newer one? Okay, I'm gonna find another one. I guess a lot of Acuras you just can't do manual programming, and it requires the programming machine. So either the Smart Pro or the Auto Pro Pad. Let's go to. I know Cadillac has them, like CTS. Let's see. Nope. You have to use the programming machine. Let's see, the older one maybe. Same thing. Nope. Any other ones? Let's try another one. Let's try Chevrolet. So a lot of options, right? Let's do a Silverado. Let's choose 2007. Oh wow, they don't have it either. We're shooting very accurate right now. Let's see. How about Silverado 2500? Finally. Okay. So this is what a manual program means. It's basically car manufacturers will have a set procedure that allows you to get into the programming mode to program a new remote to their vehicle. So it's a weird, the steps can be really weird sometimes, but sometimes it has a video showing you how to do this. But you just read the instructions and you follow it. You might have to try it multiple times before it actually works. So try it. If it doesn't work the first time, literally, I've done it maybe even 5, 6 to 10 times before it finally worked, just because of the timing that you do things could be off a little bit, and that messes up the entire thing. So here, you must have all GM remotes, including working ones, when performing this procedure. So when you do manual programming, sometimes it'll erase all the other remotes that are not present when you're programming. So you have to make sure that you have all the ones that the customer has in hand. If not, the ones that aren't with you will be deleted and it won't work with their car anymore. You would have to have them, come back and bring all the remotes. Same thing with car keys. It could be where you can add a key where it doesn't erase existing keys, but there are instances where it will erase and you just have to be aware of that. Okay, so you must have all GM remotes, including working ones, when performing this procedure. This procedure essentially wipes out all remotes from the vehicle's memory, so all must be programmed. Press each button on the remote 26 times, then attempt the steps outlined below. Okay, I've never had to do that before. Like I said, every car tends to be a little different, or every brand. They tend to follow the same if it's like a Toyota or like a Chevrolet. They procedures tend to be similar, but they're all a little different. And that's why we reference this place, keyfobprogram.com. Free website. It's great, great resource. Okay, so first off, you get in the car, close all doors in the vehicle, insert key into the ignition, press and hold the power unlock button on the driver's side panel, door panel, Do not release until instructed to do so in step 5. So now you're holding the unlock button. Quickly turn the ignition on and off, so twice. On is the position just before starting your vehicle. Off is the position where you can pull out your key out of the ignition. Once you do that, release the power unlock button on the driver's side door panel. The vehicle should respond by locking and unlocking automatically. If lock cycle, then continue. If lock cycle, so if you hear it where once you release the power unlock button, the vehicle should lock and then unlock automatically. If that works, you continue on to step 6. If it doesn't, it says if the door lock, begin to lock and unlock before releasing the unlock. Yeah, so sometimes it might not enter programming mode, and you have to know that. So here it says if the door locks, begin to lock and unlock before releasing the unlock button, then the vehicle has not entered programming mode, and you must start over. So remove key, open door, return to step 1. So you might have to do this several times before you can get it to work. So remember that this might not work on the first attempt, but after you try it and you feel that you've done it correctly, and you've tried it multiple times and it still doesn't work, then the other issue, it could be that the remote just isn't working. So you have to be aware of the issues that you can come across so you know how to solve the problem. So, it could be just you're not doing the programming steps correctly. The remote could be messed up, etc. So you should be aware about certain things. Okay, so if it works, if it goes and locks and unlocks automatically after you release the unlock button that you were holding, hold the lock and unlock button on the remotes at the same time until the door lock cycle again. This could take up to 30 seconds. So you basically will hold the lock and unlock button, for 30 seconds, and you'll hear when it's programmed is when it locks and unlocks. That means, boom, you've programmed that one remote. And then what you do is if you have additional remotes, you do the same thing. You don't have to do all the steps again. All you have to do is hold the lock and unlock button again for 30 seconds. It should cycle the locks, and then that one's programmed. You do it for all the keys or all the remotes, and then you should be done. Once it's done, you turn the ignition to on to exit programming mode, turn it off, remove the key, and test all the remotes to make sure they're all properly programmed. So that's what you do. You basically turn the ignition off, and then you test the remotes. Make sure all the remotes are working properly. And once you do that, you have now manually programmed a remote. Technically, yes, customers can do this by themselves, but most of them don't even know about programming, or it's a headache, or they just don't want to do it themselves. So that's where we come in. We are the ones that are knowledgeable about this stuff, and we make their job easier. So that's manual programming. Like I said, each one is going to be a little different. What I always do is I always check the Smart Pro first to see if it can just be programmed with the machine. If you can program it with the machine, go with the machine. It's always easier. Programming manually can be a headache just because, getting into programming mode can be a pain in the butt. But always check with the Smart Pro and then check with the Auto Pro Pad. And then your last step is doing the manual mode. Over time, you'll get more familiar with it where you'll just know what to do. So that is manual programming. We use keyfobprogram.com. If that website doesn't have it, the next one I use is programyourremote.com. Same sort of setup. You just click on the different ones and it'll show you programming instructions. And so, here Acura does have some programming instructions. So like I say, always check the Smart Pro first to see if there's programming. If there isn't and it says manual programming required, check the Auto Pro Pad as well, just to be sure. And then you check the keyfobprogram.com. And then you also check this Program Your Remote if keyfobprogram.com it doesn't have it. And then, you go down the line. If they don't have it here, this is also another website for programming guides, keylessremotewarehouse.com. And you just search them up over here. But I rarely use this. Okay, last thing. The Auto Pro Pad, we also use it as, like a mobile device as well. So we basically will pull up all this because to try to memorize this is going to be impossible. So you take the Auto Pro Pad, you go to the section where you can actually use it as a website. And then we just have these pulled up, and then we bring it to the vehicle, and we program it with that in front of us so we can just follow the direction. I always suggest try to read through it quickly just so you get an idea of what you're doing, because each step can be timed. And if it's timed and you're trying to read all this, it's going to be pretty challenging. So try to get familiar with it first, then quickly follow the directions. So good luck with that. Manual programming, it's for usually most of the older vehicles, but it also happens to be for some of the newer ones. Some of the new vehicles, it's similar process, but just know that this is part of your arsenal of ways to program. It's you can use the machine. If it doesn't have that and you need a manual program, you could do it this way. There's some rare instances. We've done a couple where the programming is really odd, where you actually have to take the OBD port and literally, there's some instructions where you have to put a pin into like hole 2 of the OBD port and then hole 8, and you put it together, and then it allows you to program the remote. Those are very rare, but just know that it is something that we've encountered as well. Very, very rare, but it happens for older vehicles. But that's manual programming in a nutshell. All of them are a little different, so just get comfortable knowing that there is manual programming, and then just get comfortable with doing those. So that is manual programming.